Hi, I'm Tracy with Freckled Fairy Upcycle. Welcome to my channel. This is a place where I create wearable art from thrifted, vintage, or other textiles. I hope you enjoy. Hello, so today we're going to make a handbag, and I think they're called half moon bags. I'm not quite sure, but it's a half circle. I want to make it so it can be used as either like a tote or shoulder bag or a crossbody. And I wanted to use some scrap, here it is, quilt fabric I have to make it. I thought that would be a really cute bag and an alternative to like the shopping style that a lot of quilted bags are. So I have the quilted scraps. I have this striped fabric. It is from a skirt, and I've used it. I used this a while ago before I started making these tutorials for a pair of pants. And then I have this fabric. I think I'm going to do the lining in. That's really cute. And so first of all, I'm going to have to make the pattern. So let's get started with that. So we're going to make a pattern. I use this roll of craft paper. I keep it around. If you have kids, it's great to have around for them to draw or paint on. My kids are in their 20s, so this is for me. I like using it because it's sturdy enough that if I like the pattern, I can keep it. I can also, if I mess up, I can recycle it. You can also use wrapping paper or newspaper, anything like that. So the bag, I'm not sure exactly what the shape is called. It's because I decided I'm not going to do a complete half circle. It's going to be kind of more like this shape. If you know what this shape is called, please put it in the comments because I have no idea what that is officially called, but that doesn't matter. So I have my ruler and it's 12 inches. I'm going to start off with 12 inches wide. And I want it to be around 9 inches. I don't know if this is considered deep or wide or so. If you know what that would be called, please put it in the comments. I'm sorry, I don't know all these terms. My brain just is not working today. In order to get the kind of circled bottom, I went ahead and got this thread and I got a pencil. And I kind of measured around, it's a little longer than 9 inches, but I should actually cut it 10 inches, come to think of it, because it's going to be sewn. So that actually worked out. So I'm going to, actually to keep it straight, this edge is already straight because it's the edge of the paper. And I'm going to mark the 12 inches. And I'm also going to mark the 6-inch midpoint. Now I'm going to hold the twine at the midpoint. Oops. At the midpoint, at the end, or whichever length that you want. And I'm just gonna use this guy to kind of draw the circle bottom. I don't know why I keep going over it, but that will work. And then I'm just going to kind of sketch and freehand it up. And it looks like it may be bigger than 12 inches, but maybe not. I think if I shape it like that, that'll work. And then I want the top to be kind of dipped a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of eye it. Okie doke. I could be a little more precise with that. So that comes down about 1.5 inches. So let's just kind of even that out. I know it probably doesn't look like it, but I do know where I want to cut it. So I'm going to grab my paper scissors. They're around here somewhere. Here they are. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and then we'll place it on the fabric and see where we want to do that. So to get this curve more even, if you want, you can fold the paper in half and go ahead and, the bottom is even, but go ahead and just even that out. And then you can cut the top and it'll be the same curve. But you can use your guidelines to kind of start that. So that looks great. Now I got to see what kind of situation I have with this. Okay. I think I'm trying to decide if it needs to match on both sides. I don't think I have enough fabric to make it match on both sides. I'm gonna play around with it and see if I can figure that out. Okay, I found a big enough piece that's gonna work so I can make it the same. So we're gonna put this piece in the center. It's not gonna go all the way on because that's just not gonna work with what I have. But that's okay. I'm not gonna go crazy over that. So the center part on this is going to be this little cross where this fabric meets. So I'm gonna just place that on the fold and peek and make sure that the fold is on the other side. And then I'm going to just pin it, cut it out. And then if I flip the fabric around, I do have enough on this side to make the same cut. I always debate about cutting up quilts. This one wasn't a solid quilt. I got it at a thrift store and it had been used for something, I guess. I was able to make a jacket out of it. And then these are all the scraps left over that I kept. I do have a few more quilts in my stash and I'm always debating what to do because I really want to create like a sweatshirt type situation. But I have this one quilt that's in great shape, but I bought it to make the sweatshirt situation and I feel bad cutting it. So I'm trying to decide what to do. What do you guys do? People who sew and cut up quilts. How do you decide to cut it up? Because on one hand, I figured at least it's getting some use because the quilts that I have that my mother and my great-grandmother made are in a closet. I use one of them a lot to watch TV or when I get sick to take a nap on the couch. The quilt top was made by my great-grandmother, and then my mom, probably 3 years ago, she quilted it. She put it together and put a backing on it, and it was my Christmas gift, and I absolutely adore that. And then I have another quilt, excuse me, that my great-grandmother made that was on my bed when I was growing up, and then it was on my daughter's bed when she was growing up. I actually had to get it repaired a couple of times because after being washed for that many years, I mean, I'm 56 and my daughter's 23, so it was used quite some time. It did get a lot of tears and holes in it, but I still have it and I still love it. And they're my quilts. So the quilts I find to make things out of are still my quilts, but I don't have like an emotional connection. But I do know how much work goes into them. Even though I'm not a quilter, I grew up with quilters. So I'm always torn. My mom's fine with it. She's like, cut it, make a sweatshirt, do your thing. My great-grandmother obviously passed, and I can't even really channel what she would say. So, okay, enough for my therapy session. I'm gonna cut this part out and then flip this around and cut this one out on this side. I am going to do the same for the lining, cut it out. I just have my fabric doubled up, so I only have to make one cut. So I'm just gonna pin this down and cut it out. I've decided that I want to put a zippered pocket on the inside. Now here's the deal. I've never done an interior zipper pocket, but I'm just going to figure out something. So I grabbed my scrap paper and I'm going to, again, cheat and use the edge of it for a straight edge. I did measure and kind of figure out what size I wanted the finished pocket to be, which is 8 by 5. So I need to cut it 9 by 6 to allow for the seam allowance. So I'm gonna mark this off. Now, I'm sure someone watching this knows a better way to do what I'm about to do. If you do, put it in the comments. I'm sure you have a link or something, or can just say. But I like to kind of figure things out myself. I've always been like that. Although I am one to call my father for logical things like how do you fix a toilet and how do you do this math problem. My mother is my creative go-to, especially for sewing. But for the most part, I do just kind of try to figure things out. So let's see how this is going to fit. If it's going to fit, I'm going to put about a 1/2 inch fold on the edge. And yes, that's going to work. So I'm going to cut out 2 of these rectangles out of the lining fabric. I actually cut out 3 of these because I want the inside of the pocket to be pretty as well as the outside. So I did that, and now we're gonna put the zipper in. And I have this zipper tape because I do upholstery, and this is what I use because I never know how long I need. And sometimes you need it really, really long and you can't get a zipper that long. If I had energy today, I would go get in my truck and go to the store and buy a zipper that fit, but I'm not doing that today. I'm very much a homebody today. So you need one of these zipper pulls if you're gonna go this route. And the easiest way, I hope this works the first time, but the easiest way I have figured out how to do this is you're going to pull the teeth apart and make one side shorter than the other. Just a little bit shorter. And then you're going to take the bottom wide part. So, or you know, the holes are wide, but the pointy side is going to go down towards the way the zipper is going to go up and down. So you stick one side in and just kind of wiggle it until it gets latched on the teeth. And of course, since I'm doing this, it's being annoying. Okay, so I am going to cut this. Looks like it's not straight, so maybe that's the problem. That was the problem. Yes, so you get that on. Apparently you need to cut this straight, make sure it's straight. And then once you have that on, you know, it's stable. So you do the same with this side, the shorter side. Well, is it? Oops. I thought I cut it straight, but maybe I didn't. And yes, I just used my sewing scissors. I should not have done that. And then you're going to wiggle that in. Why is this being so difficult? And keep wiggling. And then once you kind of hear a little click, you hold the ends and then you can pull the zipper on like that. So I'm going to cut the zipper a little shorter than the width of the bag. So probably about, I don't know, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch on each end. That'll work. And then I'm going to just take a little piece of fabric and fold it over and just sew it across the bottom here. Now, when you do it, this is plastic. If you go really slowly over the teeth, you should be fine and not break your needle. So I'm going to do that on both sides and just do a straight stitch along the edge of the fabric. Okay, there's no need to panic. In the process of figuring this out, there will be a little shortening of one of the pieces in a little bit, but I am not worried because it's no big deal. So I cut out this strip. It is the length of the fabric all the way, and then it is 2.5 inches wide. So I'm going to sew this. I'm going to fold it over and iron it and do a straight stitch sewing this part of the zipper straight down, and being careful not to go over on the teeth or it won't zip. And then when you get close to the zipper part, you're just going to have to leave your needle in and kind of turn it to the side, unzip the zipper, and then put it back in place and then finish sewing. And then we will go into the next step. Okay, then I'm going to take 2 of the rectangles and put them right sides together and just sew them together, straight stitch down just one side. So I then turned those over and did a really good iron on them, and I'm going to sew them down to the zipper just like I did the other one. So now it will look like this, and you're going to take the 3rd rectangle. Now this is where the cutting is coming in because I didn't figure it out all the way. I had a different way I thought I was going to do it, and then I changed my mind. But you're going to turn it right sides together with this one and put it at the top. And then just trim this off. That way it'll be the size that you want it. And then you're just going to sew all the way around. But make sure your zipper is unzipped so you can turn the pocket out the correct way. I made a mistake and have to get my seam ripper out. So I am going to, I don't know, because what has happened is I made this little pouch, which is really cute, which you can make like a pencil pouch. However, I wanted the inside of it lined with the fabric on the back, and I put the fabric in wrong. So instead of doing right sides together, you need a right and wrong side together. So when it turns out, the inside will have that lining look. So yeah, fun times. Okay, so I ironed the bag in half or one side of the lining actually, just to get the center line. And then I marked the center of the pouch. So I need to figure out how far down I'm going to place this. No, I don't want it too far down because I don't want to sew into it when I sew around this edge. Likewise up here. And then I just want to make sure that it is straight. So that's 3/4 of an inch. Bring that up a little bit. 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch. That's an inch. And geez, that's an inch. Okay, so I'm going to pin this in place and then just go around the edge and sew a straight stitch. So I just realized something, and I'm sure you more experienced sewers already you might be yelling at the screen right now, but I didn't really need to put the back fabric on this pocket because we already have this fabric as the back of the pocket since it's sewn on there. So you can save yourself a step and not put the back pocket on and just turn the edges over and sew it on like that. But this will give it a little more stability, I guess, for my pocket. I'm trying to think positive. And plus now I know the next time I make this bag that I can skip that step. So I'm not going to make myself nuts over that. Now I need to do the top of the zipper, and I'm going to, I want the bag to be wide as well. I don't just want a flat sack. So I'm going to go ahead and do the top zipper. I'm going to use this narrow piece with the roses on it. This one does have some holes, so I'm going to have to work around that and just use this part. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out and look at what needs to happen. So I cut this piece to where there's equal amount of blue on each side. So it ended up being about 4.5 inches wide. And then I'm going to cut another piece out of the lining. And then these pieces will be cut in half to put on the zipper. Okay, so I have everything cut out, and I did my zipper and put in the zipper pull like I did the other one. And of course, since I wasn't taping it, or just videoing it, it went in right away. So now I know the trick is to not put it on camera. Anyway, and then I sandwiched the ends in between two pieces of fabric that was folded over. So now we're going to put the zipper together. And to do that, we're going to take one of the strips. The lining will be face up. And then I'll put the zipper against the edge. If you can hear her right now, you can say hi, Hazel, because she is just randomly barking in the hallway. Anyway, and then I want the blue to be the side next to the zipper. So I'm going to then put the blue side down on top of the zipper. So you'll have a little zipper sandwich between the blue, the zipper, and the lining. So then you're going to put on your zipper foot and sew as close as you can to that edge. You can kind of feel it as you're going down. Sometimes, you know, if I can't feel it or see it, I will take a pencil or something before sewing and kind of run it along the edge so I can have a visual of where that is going, so I know where to sew. So if you have another trick, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear it, how you keep from zipping, from sewing over your zipper teeth. So I'm going to do it on this side, and then I will flip it around and then do it the same thing on the other side of the zipper. Okay, so the zipper is finished. I have it all sewed, and then I did a top stitch to keep everything in place. When you put a zipper in, make sure you test it before you put it in your project. I have not done that before, and it's a nightmare to deal with. So next, I'm going to do the side pieces. The quilt had some wider pieces of this rose, so I couldn't get a long piece out, so I'm just sewing the larger piece on the bottom and then 2 shorter pieces. So on these, I will do a straight stitch and then open them up and do a top stitch on both sides, because my quilt and my sewing machine aren't friends. This white fabric kept kind of getting stuck in the machine, so I kept having to stop and unclog my machine, as it just made it take so long. So I am putting some fabric under the quilt so this doesn't get stuck. So I'm going to do that on both sides, and I will also do the same with the lining fabric for the inside of the bag. So that is finished. It looks good. And I did the lining the same way. So now I'm going to sew it on the side of each piece. And I'm going to start by finding the center of the bottom. I'm just going to pin it. And then the center of this piece. And I'm starting the center so that these seams end up in the same place, so that it doesn't look too strange, since it's not a continuous piece. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to pin it around first, all the way around. And I will do that on both sides of the exterior and do the lining this exact same way. So when I sewed the quilt, I did put a strip of fabric. I have this bag of scraps I keep, so I just pulled some scraps out and put that so I could sew it without this quilt getting jammed down in my sewing machine. And then around the circle part of the bag, I made these little clips, making sure I didn't cut the thread. That will help when you turn the bag. It'll give some give to the fabric so it doesn't get puckery. It'll just lie down a lot nicer. On the lining, make sure that you leave where's the hole? Make sure that you leave a hole on one side of the lining so that, here it is, so that you can pull the bag through once it is sewn together. So mine is about 4 inches long, the hole. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is install this zipper. So we're going to want, I'm actually going to do this one at a time so that I can see what I'm doing. If I do the sandwich with the liner, I'm going to get all messed up. So I'm just going to do the same thing, find the center of the top, find the center of the zipper, right sides together, and then do a stitch and then clip again very carefully, since this has like a little bit of a curve. So to turn it, we're going to find the hole that we put in the liner and just grab something on the other corner and pull it through. Sometimes this gets a little fiddly, but you just kind of keep working at it and try not to rip a stitch. Okay, it's almost here. I'm going to pull it out like this. Trying to pull these ends out. Here we go. Goodness gracious. Okay. And then you just shove the inside in. There is the bag, fully lined. So now all you need to do is sew up this little side. I'm gonna iron it shut and then sew as close as I can to the edge, straight stitch. So I left these side pieces because I want to resolve how I'm going to do the handle. And I think I have figured something out. So what you want to do is I grabbed my measuring tape and put it over my shoulder to kind of measure how long I want the strap. Now I want to be able to wear this either as a shoulder bag or as a crossbody bag. And I am going to make an adjustable strap. So the longest I want it for a crossbody is 44 inches. So I know that that's how long I'm going to do my finished strap. It'll actually be a little longer, so I can do an adjustment if I need to, if I want to just do it like as a shoulder bag or something. So I will probably make it, that's 44, I'll probably add 6 inches and make it 50 inches long, final size. Wait, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it a foot longer because I'll have something, I want to be able to adjust it on both sides. You'll see in a second what I'm going to do. So final is going to be 54 inches. So I am going to go ahead and sew across this space here and trim this off flat. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Here are the measurements for my strap. They are 4 inches at the bottom and then 3 inches at the top. I'm going to have 3 separate sections, but the total length cut is going to be 30 inches. And then the 3 sections will be at these increments. To create a pattern, I am just going to measure out the width. So 4 inches at one end and 3 inches at the top. I'm going to mark the center and then create just a rough curve at the top. Then I will just connect the dot at the bottom of the curve with the end of the strap. It'll create a little bit of an angle, and then I will just fold the paper in half and cut out the strap so that it will be even on both sides. So I'm going to make 2 straps. The bottom is going to be this blue fabric, as well as the top. So I need to cut 2 of each of these times 2. So a total of 4 pieces. And then I need to cut this. I'm cutting it out of the quilt. And the same thing, I'll need 4 of these to make 2 straps. So now I'm going to sew the pieces together. So I'm going to have all 4 pieces. This will go on top, this will go on bottom. This piece does have a few holes. I had just scraps to make these middle pieces out of, so I kind of had to move stuff around and I could not avoid this. So with this, you could go over it with zigzag, you know, back and forth, just to strengthen it, or get like a piece of lace and put that over it and sew that on, which might be cute. So I think I'm going to do that and then sew the ends on, and then you'll have 4 pieces for the straps. Once that is done, you're going to sew 2 pieces together, right sides together, you know, match up the seams before you sew, and don't sew the bottom. So leave this bottom square open. Okay, so I also did these little clips like we did on the purse around the curve. I am going to trim out the batting along the fabric, the quilt section, before I turn it right side out. Okay, so I top stitched just the quilt part, and then on the bottom I turned this under about it's about 1 inch and ironed it down really well. And then I'm going to grab my bag and I'm just going to feed this end into the strap like that. And then I'm going to just sew close to this edge straight across, and I'm going to do that on both sides. Okay, she's all finished. It turned out so cute. Actually cuter than I had pictured it, so that's a bonus. Of course, I still have a ton of threads to clip, but all we have to do to finish the strap is just tie these 2 pieces together. Just like in a knot. And that's it. If you make this bottom piece longer, you'll have more adjusting power. I decided to make it this long because I thought that size of bow would be cute. And I measured and tried this on, and I can wear it just over my shoulder or as a crossbody. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you make your own. Stay tuned. I'm going to give you a closer look, and I'm going to style it and don't forget to subscribe and like my video, and make sure you follow along for more DIY upcycle ideas. Also, I'd love to see your creations. Follow me on social media at Freckled Fairy Upcycle, and tag me in your photos and videos so I can see what you're up to. My channels are on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I hope to see you there.